You're going to do the spread. Then you're going to come over here with your with this hand. You're going to get underneath the spread with these fingers, and you're just going to lift up and push forward. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Josiah, and in this video we are going to be doing part 2 of the basics of card handling, card magic. One of the things that I kind of didn't really do in the very beginning with this channel that I kind of wanted to do, and I really should have done, is kind of go over the very basics of card handling, the very basic techniques, the true foundations, not just certain sleight of hand moves, but the true foundations upon which all sleight of hand is built, how to handle a deck of cards. Now, here's the deal with handling a deck of cards. It might seem like something that's pretty self-explanatory, it doesn't seem like something you really need to learn, but here's the deal. It's really something that you need to learn because you can develop bad habits by not learning it properly. So in the beginning, you might be holding a deck of cards in a way that's bad. It's a bad habit to hold a deck of cards. In fact, most of the time when you get started in Magic, unless you end up going to the right spot, you'll be holding a deck of cards in the wrong way or something, okay? And so then going forward in your Magic, you're going to have to overcome those bad habits in order to continue on. And also it can stall up your learning process, not only by having to undevelop a bad habit and then develop a good habit, but it can stall up your learning process by somehow, you presented with a sleight of hand or a trick or something where you need to know how to do a certain card handling basic technique, and you don't know how to do it. In which case, your learning process is once again stalled, and you have to go back and learn that. Okay, so this is going to make your learning process go much more smoothly. It's going to allow you to not have these bad habits or not have as many of them. We're going to try and develop good habits here. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to cut a deck of cards and how to spread a deck of cards. Mostly this video is going to be all about spreading a deck of cards. Because, cutting a deck of cards is pretty self-explanatory. There are just a couple different types of cuts that I want to cover. But anyway, let's just get right into it. Alright, let's begin by talking about how to cut a deck of cards. So basically, here's how we're going to cut a deck of cards. Now, there are 4 main types of ways to cut a deck of cards we'll be covering. These are all ways you need to know in order to do Magic. The first one's called the Undercut. The second one's called the Tabled Cut. And there's a variation of the Tabled Cut that basically just looks like that. There's the Swing Cut, and then there's the Swivel Cut. Okay, so those are all the different types of cuts we're going to learn. So let's begin by talking about the Undercut. So the way the Undercut works, you're going to begin by holding the deck in biddle grip or overhand grip, which we talked about in part 1. Link up on the screen. But essentially what you're going to do, you're going to come over and with your pinky, you're going to break off. You're going to use your pinky of this hand, and I'll have a screen, a little mini screen in the corner of the video for left-handed people, because I'm teaching everything as if I'm right-handed, because I am. You're going to pick up about half the cards from beneath. You're going to break it off with your pinky, kind of like this. You're just going to come pull however many cards you want. We're just going to say about half the cards for now. All you have to do is you have to get this into mechanics grip like that. Okay, very simple to do. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. There's not much to it. Okay, you just break it off like that. Then you're going to lift your index finger up. You're going to shift it around to the top as you do. So you're going to kind of let these fingers away and kind of use your thumb to clip the corner of the card so that you can kind of shift this on here. And all you do is kind of lift up your fingers here to let it shift around to the top, okay? That's pretty much all there is to doing an Undercut. That's all there is to it. You just break off cards and you kind of shift them around up to the top like that, okay? Just gotta do that, okay? So, that is the Undercut. So let's talk about the Tabled Cut again. Basically, this is very similar to the Undercut, except for you're going to begin in mechanics grip. So then you pick up about half the cards in overhand grip, kind of move your index finger so that you can reach in, grab about however many cards you want in overhand grip. You set them down on the table. You come over, you grab the rest of the cards from mechanics grip and overhand grip, set it down on the table, okay? Very simple. And the variation on the table, which is a true table cut, is that you just pick up about half the cards, move them over to the side, pick up the rest of the cards and move them over to the side. Now, one thing to note is I am using a card mat, so I have a lot of traction in this surface, which I'll talk about later when we get into the ribbon spread. So that allows me to pick up cards very easily, okay? Because there's some good traction on the surface, okay? If you're on like a slick table or just an average surface, what you'll want to do is you'll want to kind of drag the cards back, and then pick them up once they kind of come over the edge of the table, okay? But that's basically the table cut. Now we talk about the true cuts. They're going to take quite a bit more practice than those two are. The swing cut and the swivel cut. That was a terrible example of the swivel cut. Here's a better example. But essentially, the swing cut looks like this, okay? You're going to come over with your index finger, and what you're going to do is you're going to use your index finger to pick up about, however many cards you want. So you pick up about however many cards you want to cut, and what you're going to do is you're going to lift up your middle finger and extend your index finger. What that's going to do is this is why it's called a swing cut. It's going to swing over that packet like this. You end in a position like that, okay? So again, it looks like this. Come here, use your index finger to pick up about half the cards. You lift up your index finger or your middle finger, sometimes even maybe your ring finger. I don't recommend doing that. And you swing it. And the contact point of the swivel should be that it's still contacting your back thumb, and it's basically swiveling to the side as against your thumb as your index finger extends, okay? And it should look like that. Then you're going to come over with this hand, okay, and let me kind of come here, and you're going to clip the corner of the card just like we did when we shifted it around like this, okay? We're going to be in that same position, allow it to fall into a mechanics grip, and then drop the rest of the cards on top, or you can set the rest of the cards on top. One of the things I like to do as a beginner is I like to make a lot of noise when I did this. I like to go and just kind of like really throw it on there, okay? If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Nowadays, I kind of like to just kind of lightly drop it on there, okay? But that's basically all there is to a swing cut. That is something you're going to have to practice a bit more than those other cuts, but that's very simple. So those three cuts are the ones you're going to be mainly using in Magic. But this fourth one is also important to know because you're also going to be using this quite a bit. It's the swivel cut. Basically, what you're going to come back, you're going to use your index finger or your thumb, either one works, to basically just pick up however many cards from the back you want, like this, okay? And again, you're holding the deck here in overhand grip. So you come here, you pick up however many cards you want, and then you're going to move this hand forward, and what's going to happen is the packet's going to swivel between the contact points of your index or thumb and your middle finger in overhand grip. Or, if you're doing a standard overhand grip, it's going to be your index finger, but you're just going to come here, and it swivels like this. Once it gets to a point, it's going to swivel around, but it's going to come to a point where you're just going to let it drop into mechanics grip, and you're just going to catch it in overhand grip or mechanics grip like that, okay? So again, here, swivel, drop, you come forward, and you drop the packet on top, okay? And that is the swivel cut. So those are the 4 basic cuts you're going to be doing, so practice them a little bit. They shouldn't take, probably the swing cut and the swivel cut are the ones that are going to take the most practice. Once you get them down, you'll be good. Alright, let's learn how to spread a deck of cards. So there are 3 ways we're going to talk about spreading a deck of cards. We're going to begin with the more basic ones, the ones you're going to be using probably the most often. And that is in the hand spreads. You're going to be learning the first spread. And the way I learned when I watched the 52 cards tutorial for spreading a deck of cards, he had a really great way of doing this that he called the friction spread. He called this the friction spread. I like that name for it. I think it's just a good name for it. But the friction spread, and then the nudge spread, okay? Or, this can also be called the block spread, okay? So, let me teach you how these work. So, you're going to begin in mechanics grip, and basically, the way you do the friction spread is You're going to use your thumb to begin by pushing over a small packet of cards, okay, just like that. You're going to come over with this hand, your whatever, this hand here, okay, and you're going to grab that chunk of cards and pull it this way. And what you'll find is that if you're using, a deck of cards that's not super blocky or anything, okay, the cards should, in fact, when you spread, you should find a couple more cards come along with you, okay, and you drag it like that, okay. Then you're going to grab another chunk of cards and push it over, and you're going to continue moving that hand outward, okay? Now in slow motion, it's impossible to do a friction spread in slow motion. Basically, your thumb is just pushing cards like this, okay? Basically. And it's just pushing cards as this hand moves outward. And I like to kind of not grab it here, but I like to grab it kind of down here and curve. And giving it a curve basically helps. And you just continue moving this hand outward as your thumb pushes cards, okay? Some people do a friction spread like this, so that it kind of touches the table. That's good, but in order to keep it in the hands, what's actually happening is that the overlapping of the cards is holding the cards up. So each card is holding up the other, okay? And then at the end, you want your hands to be kind of flat at the end, and that'll help to support the cards, okay? And the more cards you can support, the better, okay? So this is the final position, okay, of the friction spread. So that's pretty much all there is to doing a friction spread. You just kind of have to practice doing that motion, okay? So then the way you do a nudge spread or a block spread, or a block push spread, I guess is the way I originally learned it under, is you're going to use your thumb to once again push over a chunk of cards, but this time when you take it in this hand, instead of continuing to move outward, you're going to kind of use your fingers underneath to kind of square up the packet a little bit, okay, and you're kind of squaring up the cards a little bit, so you end up, and the reason it's called the block push spread is because you're just kind of pushing the cards over in blocks, and you're kind of squaring them up, so it just looks like this, okay? So when would we use each of these spreads, okay? So, and again, that's basically just all there is to the block push spread or the nudge spread. Basically, when would we use these two types of spreads is kind of the question I'm going to discuss now. The place we would use each of these types of spreads, if you're going to do a friction spread, I would recommend a friction spread for doing a display of the cards. For instance, if you want to show all the cards are different, or something has happened to the cards, okay? This is best for display of the cards, because you'll find that as soon as if a spectator selects a card from this spread, it's doable, but what happens is the spread kind of just kind of falls apart a little bit, oftentimes you'll find. So it's not best for picking a card, in my opinion. In my opinion, if you're going to have a spectator pick a card, you guys just kind of do a block push spread, and that's best, okay? Or you just kind of spread it like this, or, you just kind of, and as soon as they reach out, you can kind of just let them take a card, okay? So I find the block push spread or the nudge spread is best for having a spectator pick a card, whereas the friction spread is best for displaying the cards. Alright, so let's talk about tabled spreading, or the ribbon spread, okay? It basically looks like that. It's basically a way of spreading a deck of cards on the table, okay, just like that. And then you can do this kind of cool domino flip-over move, okay? There are a whole bunch of really cool things. You'll see a lot of magicians do this. The truth is, this is actually a very simple, this is actually considered a card flourish, but it is a way in which you can spread a deck of cards and have a spectator select a card. If you're someone who does a lot of tabled card work, it's a really great way to have someone select a card on the table, okay? If you're doing a routine if you're doing a tabled routine where there's a lot of magic that happens with the deck a lot of the magic happens on the table, this is really great to have a spectator select a card, because you can begin by keeping everything tabled. I think doing that's there's power in that. But anyway, basically, this is kind of a cool little flourish. I mean, that combined with the card spring, I mean, whenever you do this as a magician, your spectators go, ooh, ah. I mean, you don't even have to do any magic, and they're just going to be impressed by you being able to do that. Kind of sad, actually, because most spectators aren't super impressed when you do like a insanely difficult packet cut, but you do this and they're just like, whoa, how'd you do that? Anyway, basically, here's how you're going to begin. So you're going to begin by an overhand grip. Your index finger is going to stay along the side of the deck. This is a modified grip, And the reason why is because your index finger is going to help to kind of guide the cards and control the amount of cards that are coming out during the spread. And one helpful tip, if when you're first starting out, it's helpful to bevel the deck a little bit. That means kind of give it a slant like this by pushing with your thumb, okay? That's really helpful when you're starting out to get a nice even spread and to help you spread better. But as you get more advanced, you'll begin doing it without a bevel. But basically what you do is you come here to the edge of the table. We'll be doing a diagonal spread across the table like this, okay? I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Card mat. We're going to talk about the card mat. This, using something like a card mat, gives you some nice traction that allows you to get the cards to spread really nicely, because if you spread this on a glossy table, and I'll put some overlay footage of me spreading the cards on my glossy desk here, you'll see that the cards kind of move a little bit when you try to spread them. You get a much cleaner spread when you use a traction like this, okay? So you could practice this on a carpet. I don't recommend practicing on carpets because it just gets dirty. You could practice this on a couch. But, you know, getting a card mat is worth it to begin practicing this because it's just going to make it easier later when you learn how to do other stuff. So, basically, you come here. You're going to use your index finger right here. You're going to set the deck here. You're going to use your index finger, and you're going to move this hand this way. And as you do so, you're just going to let cards escape out from under your index finger. And if you just kind of move the deck like this, that's not going to do anything, okay? Some people try to just move like that. That's not going to do anything. That's not going to get a good spread at all. The key is that you're going to apply pressure downward. And what's going to happen is the friction of the cards, I guess, I don't know. There's some sort of science that's happening here. I'm going to assume it's friction. That causes cards to spread. And then you allow the index finger to release them and stay still, okay? What you do, here, let me shuffle the deck so I can, and what you do with your index fingers, your index finger allows it to release, and as you allow your index finger to release, you just kind of flatten your hand out like that, okay? So it shouldn't look like this, okay, because that's not going to get a good spread, but the spread's going to break at some point. The key is to let in your index finger, there are 3 keys to it, okay? So pretty much what I just mentioned. Applying downward pressure, using your index finger to allow cards to release, and flattening out your hand at the same time. Those are the 3 keys to getting a good ribbon spread, okay? So that's basically how to do a ribbon spread. So in order to do the domino flip, let me show you how to do this domino flip, okay? Which looks like that, okay? So basically the way this one works, you're going to do the spread. Then you're going to come over here with with this hand. You're going to get underneath the spread with these fingers, and you're just going to lift up and push forward. What's going to happen is the overlapping of the cards, it's just going to create a really cool effect. Like if I try to do it kind of slowly, it's just a really cool effect because it's just the momentum of the cards. It just travels through the cards. It's kind of like a, what's that called? Like a Newton's cradle, I believe. That thing where you pull the ball and it just kind of, the ball's bought back and forth, okay? It's the same idea here with the domino flip-over, okay? The momentum keeps the cards going, okay? So the key is providing sufficient momentum, okay? And the key is, okay, the faster you flip over this, the faster the rest of the spread's going to flip over. So like if you want to get a nice slow flip over, you flip that over slowly. You get that nice flip over there, okay? So what you do, but if you do it fast, you'll get the rest of the deck to flip over fast, okay? So, and the key to getting a really nice looking flip over is to keep the cards overlapped very much the same. So if you have something like this, okay, you're not going to get a nice spread. You're going to see the domino's going to, flip over is going to stop because you want an even spread in order to do it. Okay, so like this, okay? And that's why, so getting an even spread, that's going to help, okay? So, that's basically the domino flip-over basic version. What you can actually do as when you're starting out to help is you could, instead of spreading on the table, you could begin your spread on your fingers like this. And that's going to help you to get underneath the cards easier in the very beginning, okay? Like that, okay? And then in order to do this, what you can do is you can flip it over, but you can keep this hand here to stop the cards from flipping over completely, and then you can apply the momentum back to flip it over like that. And that's pretty cool because you can actually do, and if you do that on both sides, you can actually get this cool back and forth thing. Like that, okay? That's just kind of a cool little... But one thing to note, the more you flip it over, you'll notice the more you'll have blocks of cards appearing. So if you're going to do the flipping back and forth, one tip I recommend is to move your hands further inward each time so that you don't have to flip over as many cards until you just kind of end up like this, okay? That's just one tip. So that's one way you could do it. Another thing you could do is you could actually break the spread like this. This is just kind of something cool. This is really fancy, and I mean, as soon as you do this, this is just show off. I mean, a spectator sees you doing this and they're like, well, I'm never playing cards with you, okay? That's literally just their reaction to that, okay? Basically, the way you do that, you begin flipping the spread, and then about halfway down, you use your thumb to kind of just stop the spread here. And then you use your thumbs to kind of just break the spread at a point. And you can use your thumbs to kind of guide the spread here, like that. And similarly, when you do the domino flip-over, you could use a thumb to guide it, which looks pretty cool. And you could also use a card to guide it as well. So the way you would do that is you would come here, and what you can do is you can actually use a card to flip it over, or like that, okay? Or you can do that same thing with a card. This is a really cool thing with a card, essentially, where you get this card here, and you come here and use your thumb to guide it. And this is really cool, okay? What's really cool is you can actually stop the spread right here, and you can kind of just lay a card here, balance it. And what you can actually do is you can stop the spread right here. And this is just something cool, is that if you want to, you can just kind of flick the card and make it fly up, okay? That's just something fun you can do. Let me grab that card real quick. But yeah, there are just a whole bunch of things you can do with that domino flip over that are really cool. Don't have much to say about that. I think that's pretty much it. Okay, there's just a whole bunch of things you can do with this. But yeah, hope you enjoy that. Those are some of that is part 2 of the basics of card handling. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I upload a video. This was part 2 of the basics of card handling. I think that's pretty much it as far as teaching the basics. So, I hope this will help to eliminate some of the bad habits going forward as far as, handling a deck of cards. So, so in my next video, I'm going to be teaching you a card trick using the size 7 stack, another one. This one's going to be really cool. I'll give you a little teaser of it just here, essentially, the way the trick works, the one I'm going to be teaching at least. Basically, you have a spectator, obviously cards are shuffled and whatnot, but then you have a spectator deal through the cards, they stop at any card they want, you deal 4 more cards on top of it, and then what happens is, the spectator shuffles them up, and they turn them face up, and you're able to read their mind and figure out exactly what card they were thinking of. Works every time. There's no fishing, no sleight of hand. Really cool trick. So I can't wait to teach it to you. And additionally, I've not gotten any responses yet. I did upload a video a while back on my channel called Camberwell. It was something I was really building up to. It's a trick by Cabin Booth. It's a not a torn and restored corner, but it's a torn and disappeared corner. It's a torn corner to impossible location effect. And I'll leave a link to the trailer video down below for it in the description that I made at least. But here's the deal. It is someone else's creation. It's Cabin Booth's creation. He's already released it on YouTube. But the thing about doing something like that where it's someone else's creation, I only like to share other people's created work if they've already shared it publicly for free, and also if I actually have some valuable information to add to it. And when I made that video, I uploaded it. I've since made that video private. I've decided, the video, it really wasn't a good video. It really didn't do the trick justice. I mean, the entire video basically was just kind of riffed. Okay, I didn't really do that well. I didn't script it. I didn't really do anything. Okay, it was really just a terrible tutorial. So I kind of want to make another tutorial eventually for it. So let me know down in the comments if you'd be interested in that. And if you're not, then I just won't waste my time making it. I'll go on and do more fun stuff. So yeah, but that is it. So I'll see you in the next video.